Hey, welcome to The Explainer. We tend to think of AI as this super-powered calculator, something that crunches numbers and spits out data. But what if its real superpower isn't about data at all? What if it's about helping us untangle our absolute messiest human problems? Today, we're looking at how AI can help us think better. And that's really the big question we're tackling, isn't it? This isn't just about getting answers in seconds instead of minutes. It's about fundamentally improving the quality of our thinking. How can a partnership with AI actually sharpen our own logic and lead to better decisions? And here's where we hit the core of the problem, which is highlighted in some fantastic research by Tomaj Aliaj. See, AI is amazing with neat, tidy spreadsheets, but the real world, it's messy. The stuff that really drives huge decisions, intuition, experience, team dynamics, that stuff doesn't live in a database. So how on earth can AI help with that? All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore this new frontier for AI, moving it beyond just numbers. Then, we'll dive into a really powerful method for untangling problems called the theory of constraints. We'll see what happened when ChatGPT was brought into the mix, check out the pretty surprising results, and then wrap up with a crucial point: why the human expert is more important than ever. All right, let's dive in. So, first up, we're really looking at a shift in how we use AI. It's about moving from that simple quantitative analysis, just counting things, into the much more complex world of understanding human stories and logical arguments. The whole framework used in this study is something called the theory of constraints, or TOC, and it's a beautifully simple but really powerful idea. It says that in any complex system, whether it's a giant factory or just your morning routine, your overall performance is limited by just one or two bottlenecks. If you can find and fix that one single bottleneck, the entire system gets better. Now, TOC has a very specific tool for sniffing out that root bottleneck. And traditionally, doing this has been a very manual, very human, and very difficult process. That tool is called the current reality tree, or CRT. Honestly, the absolute best way to picture it is like a detective's evidence board in a movie. You start by pinning up all the problems you can see. These are your undesirable effects. Then you start drawing lines, connecting them with cause and effect logic, until you trace everything back to the one or two culprits at the very bottom. That's your root cause. So building one of these trees is basically a three-step dance. First, you just list out everything that's going wrong. Then comes the really hard part. You have to connect the dots and map out that cause and effect logic. If you can get that right, the final tree should point you straight to the core issue that's causing all the other problems. But as you can probably guess, doing this manually is tough. It's so time-consuming just to collect the data, and when we start trying to build those logical connections, our own biases and assumptions sneak in. That leads to errors and what the researchers call leaps of logic, basically jumping to a conclusion without having all the steps to back it up. And if you're wondering just how tough it is, well, take a look at this. This survey data from the study shows you the incredible amount of time this takes. Sure, some folks get it done in under 3 hours, but look at this. Almost a third of people spent more than 10 hours on it, and some took over 15 hours. That's a huge investment of time, a massive bottleneck in itself. Okay, so this is where everything changes. This is where the experiment gets really, really cool. To try and solve these problems of time, bias, and those logical gaps, the researchers brought in a new team member, an AI analyst named ChatGPT. And what's brilliant is that ChatGPT wasn't brought in to replace anyone. Think of it more like a partner. In the beginning, it acted like a brainstorming buddy, helping to surface potential problems the team might have missed. During that tricky logic-building phase, it was like a fact-checker, pointing out inconsistencies. And at the very end, it helped challenge the team's hidden assumptions by asking really smart, critical questions. This quote from the research paper just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly explains the core problem ChatGPT was brought in to solve. These leaps of logic, they happen when we feel like two things are connected, but we can't quite prove it with the data we have. It's an intuitive jump, and it can make the whole analysis shaky. And this is how the AI makes our own thinking better. It acts as a logical gap filler. When the team got stuck and felt like they were making one of those leaps, they could just ask ChatGPT, hey, what are the missing steps here? The AI would then propose potential causal links, filling in the gaps and making the whole argument much more solid and complete. So what happens when you actually pair a human expert with an AI analyst like this? Well, the results weren't just faster. They were fundamentally better. I mean, look at this. Of course, the process got faster and more efficient. That's no surprise. But the really amazing part is that it actually promoted deeper thinking. Having that AI partner pushed the team to find the root cause more accurately, it helped check their own biases, and ultimately, it led to decisions that were clearer and made with more confidence. So, the bottom line is, this wasn't just about saving time. The quality of the final analysis itself was in a different league entirely. The team didn't just walk away with a diagram, they walked away with a robust, reliable map that gave them a much, much deeper understanding of their core problem. But, and this is a really big but, the research is crystal clear that this is not some magic bullet. Using AI in this way comes with its own set of pretty significant challenges and limitations. A few really critical things to keep in mind here. First, and most importantly, the AI is a tool. It is not a replacement for good old-fashioned human judgment. We all know ChatGPT can sometimes be confidently wrong. It can hallucinate information. Plus, for it to be really effective, it needs to be trained on the specific language and concepts of a field like TOC. So it all boils down to balance. This isn't about handing the keys over to the AI and letting it drive. The real magic happens in that partnership, where the AI provides novel insights and challenges our thinking, but human expertise and critical judgment always have the final say. And this really leaves us with a huge question for the future, doesn't it? When we're up against our biggest, most complex problems, is the choice really between human versus AI? Or, as this research suggests, is the real future human plus AI? It seems the biggest breakthroughs are just waiting for us, right at the point where we finally learn to think together. Thanks for digging into this with me on The Explainer.